Welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I am your host, Brian Call, and I am joined by my brother, the Gritty Broman. Brent, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Brent just got back from his kind of first independent elk hunt. You know,
this is the first time where I got to be the guy that pulled the trigger. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Brent's been a very effective pack mule from the age of 14. 12?
Yeah, it was 14 when we went on that.
Brent's been on a number of hunts with me, and all he's done is pack.
You know, I was listening to
You didn't even get to see the shots. You didn't get to see things die.
I didn't see a live elk.
Hunt.
I was thinking about this the other day. I think I was on my 5th elk hunt before I saw a live elk.
Yeah, I think what people don't realize is that I am like the age of a father figure for you.
There is 15 years between you and I. And there is 16 years between you and Dad. Think about that.
Exactly. So, I mean, technically, it's tight. But, there's a whole age difference generation. I mean, by the time I went on a mission when I was 19 to Japan.
I was 4.
You were 4. And you were my little brother. It was the first little brother I had, so that was cool.
I have memories of us going out fishing and stuff like that and doing some manly-esque type
when you were
things.
3 or 4, and I'd drag you around with me with my teenage buddies.
But you were married by the time I was 8. I've had Suzanne in my life since I was 8 years old.
Well, yeah, when I got back from my mission, you were 6, and you were diagnosed with leukemia within a month or 2 of me being home. And then I remember for about a year, I was taking you to all your chemo appointments.
Fun times.
And just doing my thing through that. Because it was tough on Mom.
Mom went to my first spinal tap.
Yeah.
And they gave me like a tranquilizer to calm me down. Well, it turns out those give me panic attacks.
Right.
And so they're trying to smash me into a ball.
I was there for that.
Yeah, it wasn't good. I was freaking out. I'm super fat at this point, so I can't breathe well. I'm in a fetal position, and the nurses and the doctors are trying to smash me down because there's already a needle in my back.
Right.
And I'm crying, so my nose is plugged up, and my chin is shoved up against my mouth.
It's horrible to see your 5-year-old, 6-year-old kid go through
I was passing in and out, crying, and she never went back.
Yeah. For me, I'm... I don't know. I'm just more merciless because I'm like, suck it up, Brent. You're going to be fine. Yeah, they stabbed you in the back. Yeah, it sucks. We'll get over it and we'll get ice cream. There's no room to... And that tough love is much better than when you actually see your parent freaking out on your behalf, because then the kid's emotions are validated, because the parent is going, oh my gosh, and that the kid is now like, should I actually be worried? It's the same thing when you have, let's say, a 150-pound mastiff on the end of a leash, and you're super calm, and someone comes running up to you, and you're like, chill about it, but you freak out. The dog senses that and goes, okay, there's a danger here. The little kid is the same way. So
I always equate it the kid's running and they biff it and they whack their head on the coffee table. And you just you're fine. You play it off and the kid's like, dang it, ouch. And then they get up and play.
Right.
That's where the mom's like, and the kid goes, oh no, I'm broken.
Right. This is serious. Yeah.
And I will say the tough love, it just became a matter of routine. I got to get up. Got to go to the doctor today. Got to do this. It became more like a job than it was like.
And then we got through it. We just did the best we could. When you came home, you puke for a while in a bucket. Then you play video games or just curl up in the fetal. You look like a big, fat, bald kid.
Well, you guys called me Uncle Fester till I was 15, and I lost it one day, and I punched our cousin Chelsea in the throat because she kept calling me Uncle Fester.
Oh, kids are brutal. But
kids, it was my older cousins who were in their 20s.
True. People are brutal. Anyway, so there is a big difference. So we didn't actually do a lot of hunting together, but when Brent did come along in those first, when I was in my early 20s, you're young, and then my late 20s, 30s, you came along.
I came
and
into,
just sort of
into your
ended
hunting life once you started doing the backpacking stuff. There was no road hunting for me.
And we were really dragging you out there because you were a troubled teenager, and Mom wanted us to keep you out of trouble.
I was not troubled. I was perfect.
You kept trying to date girls she didn't like, and so she's
I was 14
take
on that
him
first
into the
hunt.
mountains and make it so he can't even text her. So I don't even know if they had text then.
No.
Anyway,
I think I had a phone until I was 16.
Major tangent. Today's podcast is actually
it's very well along the lines, actually.
It is technically. It's with Anthony Spencer and his son Brock. About his son Brock. It's just Anthony and I. So I went on an elk hunt with Anthony, and we were high school, even pre-high school. We were the first time I met Anthony, I think I was like 11 or something, or maybe 8. Well, we were Cub Scouts together. So whatever it is when you're a Cub Scout. He was, I think my mom was the den leader. Can't remember. But that's kind of the first time Anthony came into my life. And then through high school and beyond. We always went to church together. We had that common thread between us. And anyone who's followed Gritty since the beginning has known that, Anthony Spencer and I have been friends for life mostly. And we've been on some cool adventures and hunts together. And it's surreal to have children going hunting and pulling triggers. This isn't little kid stuff anymore either. Like, here we are.
It's life and death.
So on this hunt, we go out and Brock has a few days to kill an elk because football is really important in their family. Both Brock and his older brother, Brett, drew some excellent tags. Because of sports, they don't have time to go or the ability to go bow hunt elk in September. But they usually do like
miss practice. They have to sit out parts of games.
Yeah, whole games. So you got to be at practice or you don't play. And Brock, they're in the middle of championship games and season. And anyway, they drew a tag and they were going to be able to go out for just 2 or 3 days, 4 days at a time, try to get an elk. And I brought my daughter Caitlin with me, and it was Brock and Caitlin, me and Anthony, and it was brutal, physically brutal, a steep, like open country, but just some of the deepest canyons in North America. It's got the it's vast country we're hunting, and anyway, it's cool. It's a great hunt. And so we just podcast afterwards a little bit about kids and youth, and it's a good show. I think it's really good. I think I just always appreciate Anthony's perspective, and there's few people on the planet that I admire more than Anthony. Anthony's had a lot of back problems and even knee problems as he's aged, and he's gone through some real struggle that I think other men would have just caved into. He just is a fighter. He'll never quit. And when you hunt with him, it's always been a grind because he is willing to do whatever it takes. And sometimes that's like, and that's because he'll have a goal in his mind. He is just a tenacious human being. And so Anthony his poor children are just subjected to it as well.
He was my scout leader growing up. And
that is sad for you. It's
him and Greg Steele.
Yeah.
Those two would take us hunting, or not, sorry. They would do preseason scouting under the guise of taking the boys out every month. So we religiously went on a camp out every weekend, one weekend out of every month.
Right, for the boys.
For the boys. Honey, I got to fulfill my calling. I got to take them.
You got to take the boys.
And I remember one time
they ditch you and then go hunt.
100%. I remember them coming back with ducks on a couple of occasions.
Yeah.
But I remember complaining one time, and Anthony and Greg looking at us and saying, because we wanted to stop, we wanted to break.
Right.
And they're mad at us because we're being lazy. And we didn't know how to pack a pack at that point.
Yeah.
So my backpack is all clothes and then 20 different cans of food on the top. So I'm super falling all over the place.
Yeah.
And we're complaining, and they look at us and they go, "You see that flat part down there? That's your break. Let's go." Brutal.
But you guys turned into men.
Well, most of us. I would say.
I mean, that's part of doing hard things. And we talk about that on the podcast today.
Mm-hmm.
I think Anthony, he's a football coach, teaches, and he has for the last 4 or 5 years volunteered to teach coach football. And he's really been a part of his all of his children's lives, taking them out hunting and doing things. And it's not always easy, man. It's a lot easier just to leave your teenager at home and just go by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
They can really be a damper, especially when they don't want to be there.
Teaching people sucks.
Actually, it can be very rewarding.
Yeah, but it sucks for a lot.
Yeah. Anyway, I think it's a great great show. I hope you guys enjoy it. Before we do that, I did want to catch up on some comments that have come through. I've been out doing various scouting and various hunts and putting film together, and been really kind of off grid a lot this fall. And tomorrow, in fact, I leave to go hunt with Ryan Lampers, and we are going steep and deep into some country that I don't think very many people have been, and we're doing it with an over-the-counter, mule deer tag, late season, and it's 12 days in the backcountry. And
is it just 12?
It's going to be pretty wild. I just got this new alpaca raft in the mail today. For people who don't know, it's like a backpacking raft.
Which that threw me off because of how they spell alpaca.
Yeah, with a CK.
Yeah, like a pack.
Yeah.
Like a backpack.
It's, play on words.
Yeah, because we grew up next to an alpaca farm. Most people might not know that. Alpacas are mean. I have a little bit of resentment for them. So when he said this is an alpaca raft, I was like, in the trash. Take it away.
It's for those who don't know, if you've been living under a rock, they make a raft that is like a legit raft, but for backpacking. So this raft weighs 7 pounds.
Jeez.
And it can
how much can it carry?
Carry 500 pounds.
Jeez.
So in full disclosure, Ryan and I bought the raft, paid for it. I got a little discount, which was great. I want to thank those guys at Alpaca for that. I think the raft is about $1,000, and then you get a few extras. You can fill the baffles with your own gear, and then you kind of pump the air up around it, so it's pretty cool. It comes with these super lightweight paddles. You can get those. Anyway, you should go to alpacaraft.com and check it out. But this is going to allow Ryan and I, and we're bringing a couple other guys. We're bringing James Sylvester and then Metabolic Mike.
Metabolic Mike.
And if you don't know him, you can look him up on YouTube. You'll probably get to know him as we produce the footage and share.
Look up High Intensity Health.
Okay. And so we get back in there, and we're going to be to get to where Ryan and I are thinking of going. We need to be able to cross a couple of rivers. Last time we did it on a hunt, that was wild. We packed in a raft. It was a 40-pound Watermaster raft, and that was just not too far. I mean, we had to pack it a long way, but we only had one river. This time we're going to pack it a long way, cross a river, and then pack it again a long way and cross another river. And then we could leave it there and go where we're going to go, perhaps.
Stash it somewhere.
But it's just to get across rivers. It's not to actually float the game out. Now, digging into it, they have another raft that is about a pound more, so it's about 8 pounds, and you can pack out 600 pounds of gear, or 600 pounds max capacity on that. And on that particular raft, I was talking to him about it. You could hike into a place that's very remote. You could kill a moose, or maybe not a moose. You could kill a caribou or an elk, and the problem often isn't getting into the area; it's getting the animal out. But waterways change the game, because you can throw all that stuff on a raft. You can pack yourself's 200 pounds, your gear's 100 pounds, let's say, and you have 300 pounds of meat and head. I mean, there shouldn't weigh that much, but if it did, with an 8-pound raft, you're floating that out 20 miles or whatever it is. So pretty neat idea. Ryan and I are going to play around with this moving forward on a few hunts. I'm going to do some stuff with Ben and Anthony, and it's kind of opening some windows to some new cool adventures that are possible now. I've heard about these, and I know guys that have been using them. Ryan Avery at Rockslide talked about them many times, and so pretty cool piece of gear. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, back to the comments. We got a comment from the Saucy Burger. He said, Saucy Burger. He said, if you guys skinned it, I want to see it. How you guys skinned it, and show us the skin, please. First bear film. So he's commenting on the bear footage that we shared from our spring bear hunt. We showed elements of the skinning, but not the whole thing. We've done that in the past. The problem is YouTube flags the content and restricts it so much that it doesn't get any organic growth, and that can really hurt you. And so, because it's not fit for all audiences, it's too graphic. So it's kind of we kind of struggle with how much to show and not to show. But we do have some footage that's going to come out that we're going to share on exactly how we skin a bear. And you can find other footage if you just Google it or look it up on how to do it. But we do have some great footage that we captured on Prince of Wales Island with Anthony. In fact, Anthony breaks down how to skin a bear. It's pretty great little bit of content, and so we'll be sharing that down the road. But yeah, I understand that there are how-tos and stuff that can be found, on how to do a bear. This guy said, Burn 280 on YouTube. He said, would be awesome if you could video yourself or miscall dehydrate some meals. The whole idea of putting a meal on one baffles me. I get fruits and meats, but not meals. So that's pretty easy to do. We'll do that sometime here.
I've already talked to Suzanne. She's down, so sometime.
Suzanne's become like a little mini Heather's Choice in this little area where she's dehydrating meals for different people and making backcountry meals and making a little money on the side. But she's like, dude, it's not worth it. It's too much. It's not enough money for a lot of work. But it does save you quite a bit of money if you're buying your meals. And it's just so good. It's such good, high quality food. And it makes all the difference in your overall health and your experience in the backcountry. So we'll do some videos on meals, but it's really, I'm telling you, take a meal that you have at home that you like. That's kind of like rice and chicken. Just mince that thing up and throw it on a dehydrator. I mean, it's that easy. It really is. All right, Sheer Wheel Survival says, good to hear there's someone else who doesn't use a spotting scope where I hunt in dark timber and broken country, just binoculars for glassing. Yeah, I've when you're backpacking deep, you got to make choices and sacrifices on what you're going to pack. And I just found that a spotting scope is irrelevant. It's just too much weight for coming out of your backpack maybe once the whole time. So in thick country, it's like Oregon coast. Why would you bring a spotter for?
Dude, I didn't even have a scope on this rifle I took on my hunt last week was the first gun I've owned with a rifle scope on it. I've shot everything with iron sights.
Pointless. That I don't recommend that on a rifle hunt. But anyway, yeah, I agree with that. This guy, Blake Wilson, said, check out the CNOC water bags, 2019 Vecto 2-liter water container, 28 millimeter large end opening.
Yeah. They're kind of like a platypus. You know how the platypus, I don't know how, they're shaped kind of rectangular. One end opens up completely, a stuff sack. You scoop up all your water.
Some stuff like that. I've seen those, yeah.
And then you can go ahead and cinch it down. But it's also, they've got a bunch of like add-ons, like you can turn it into a straight water bottle.
Yeah, I've seen that. I don't know. I prefer, I don't know. I like that SteriPen water bottle combo just because of how I like to mix water and drink it and sterilize it. In high mountain places where the water's pretty clean to begin with, it's a pretty handy way to go. If you're pulling water out of elk wallows, maybe a pump filter of some kind, it changes, but it's hard to beat a platypus water bottle or just the one that I just got, that new one, the Hydro Pack.
The downside to the Hydro Pack is that they're dark. These ones are see-through. Same kind of plastic, but they're see-through.
In the same vein, though, because they're dark, you're not going to grow bacteria in there.
True.
You have a platypus with a little bit of water in it and you leave it outside. And I don't ever drink out of my platypus, just anyway, straight to mouth. I never do. I use my platypus to carry dirty water. That's how I always have done it. I fill it up. It's full of dirty water. When I want to drink water, I put it into my bottle and I drink it then.
You don't clean it out ever? Don't really do anything to it?
Never, because I'm always going to sterilize it anyway.
Yeah, my wife wasn't going to float with that. She dried hers out, and she saves all those little gel silica packs or whatever for keeping stuff dry. She stuck all of our stuff in front of a fan, let it dehydrate or get aired out.
And
then she dumped a bunch of stuff in it.
I have too much life to live to mess around with that crap, Anyway, so I think we can get started. We have codes here. Don't forget, you save some money at Mountain Ops. Right now, it's free shipping. It's Opstober at Mountain Ops. So you use the code GRITTY or Brian Free Ship, and you're going to get free shipping. And I think that'll save you like $20 on your order or something like that. So also go get a pair of sissy sticks. I've got a pair right here in front of me, and these trekking poles are legit. You know, a comparable pair that are both carbon with the aluminum bottom, you know, they're over $200, $250, and with the Gritty code, you can pick this up for $110.
Things a little less even. Yeah.
So, I mean,
get 15% off.
Look, they're legit. They really are. They help a hunter. This is a hunting specific company with Bryce Bishop, and the thing about it is they really are value wise. You're not going to get better value for the money, and they're super lightweight. They've got that aluminum lower that makes them tough. Ryan Lampers and I have just put them through the ringer, and they're just crushing it. So use the code GRITTY and get a pair. I feel like trekking poles are absolutely essential. You cannot go on hunts. You shouldn't go on like serious heavy backcountry hunts, packing out meat. I mean, just trekking poles are a game changer. Anyway, check those out. Sign up for our newsletter because we're doing some giveaways. We gave away some binos, and we're going to give away some more stuff later this month. We gave away some trekking poles on a podcast the other day. Just sign up. We're going to just take care of people on that list, pick winners all the time. And then sign up for YouTube because we're doing giveaways on that as well. All right. That's it, right, Brent?
Yeah, I think that's it.
That's it, folks. Thanks for tuning into the podcast. And as always, stay gritty. Welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I am your host, Brian Call, and I am joined by my good friend, Anthony Spencer. And we just finished a rifle elk hunt with your son, Brock, a youth hunt.
Rut hunt.
And that was pretty cool, man, having a rifle in hand during the rut.
Kind of cheating.
But
yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's a cool tag. So I want to talk a little bit about this hunt and hunting with kids, which we've kind of done every year now.
Yeah, more and more.
And my daughter Caitlin came along on this hunt first time. She's been on a hunt this rugged.
Oh yeah, picked a good one to bring her on for the first one.
I told her, I said, Caitlin, you know, I got this hunt. Brock is going to go and three-peat, you know, get another elk deer this year. Do you want to come along? And I said, it's going to be pretty gnarly, you know, kind of Hell's Canyon, deep trenches, serious country.
Straight up and down.
What do you want to do? She's like, what time are we leaving? So,
and this was with like a day notice.
Yeah. So I was like, really? Who are you? And she said she was in wholeheartedly. And then we got here and went after it. So
yeah, she kicked butt.
And then Brock shot a 7x7 bull, a really beautiful.
Yeah, pretty bull.
What were your expectations on this hunt, like bull-wise?
You know, it's a unit that I had said if we had plenty of time, it's a 2-week hunt, plenty of time, I would have been, if I had this tag, I'd be looking for a 350 bull. That's what I'd be looking for. With a kid, plenty of time, I still would have been looking for a 340, 350 bull, you know, hoping for that anyway. But we didn't. Brock's playing football right now. I coach his team. We're right at the end of our season. And so I knew he was going to get 4, maybe 5 days of hunting out of the 2 weeks. So I knew we were going to temper that. We talked about that all year. We were going to take that into account when we, you know, decided what we wanted to shoot. And I've said this before, I always let my kids make up their minds on what they want to shoot. If they want to shoot a spike opening morning, I don't care. It's their tag. I'll certainly give them my opinion on whether we can do better. But it's their tag. If they want to fill it, you know. And Brock really did feel bad for missing football practice, which meant he's going to sit out for part of their last game. It's the best team in the league, you know, important game. We have to win it in order to get to play the same team in the championship. So he felt kind of bad. He wanted to get it done quick. But still, I still kind of filled him in on what I'd been seeing. I'd scouted 20 days previous to his hunt opening. And Brock made the decision, you know what, the first day we go out, I'd shoot a 320 bull right off the bat and be totally happy. And I agree. That was a 320 bull as well. We're shooting right at first light.
Yeah.
And then he thought, we had Wednesday, Thursday, half day Friday, and Saturday to hunt. And he said by Saturday, he'd be looking at any nice 6-point, just trying to get the tag filled before the following week.
Mm-hmm. But he did want to get back for practice on Friday.
That's why we had a half day. He had to be back by 3.
Mm-hmm.
So
and it's a bit of a drive to go there, like a half day round trip.
Yeah.
To get there, get back.
Yeah. So we knew we had Friday, not quite a half day. We probably had to kill a bull. Well, we found out that if we'd have killed a bull Friday at all, he'd have never made it.
Right.
It was unrealistic.
Yep. So we ended up being there all day. We had a full day of looking at bulls, and we saw probably 20.
I think.
30?
Yeah, I mean, if you count all spikes and everything, 20, 25 bulls.
Yeah, for sure. And then the next day, the 7x7 and the hunt, and we shot them the second day in the evening.
Yeah, 2 hours before dark.
And it was around 18 miles.
Yeah, we did 18 miles in
2 days.
2.5 days, yeah.
2.5 days.
Well, and we left. When you guys got here, you didn't get here till 11
p.m.
at night. This is Tuesday night. Brock had a game that night. Rushed for 300 yards in his game, so he was exhausted.
Yep.
You guys got there late. I was packing until you guys got here. And then we slept for about an hour and a half and hit the road.
So I pulled basically an all-nighter. Which I hate.
Yeah.
And then pulled an all-nighter. Caitlin and I drove here, slept an hour and a half, got back in the car, drove up to the mountain, and started our hike in the middle of the night.
Yeah, it was time to put on our backpacks. It was time to get in there before daylight. We had several miles and very vertical country.
I was a little worried. Caitlin hasn't done this kind of mileage and off-trail and intensity, but she's just a little diesel engine. She just doesn't stop.
She's the prime example of your mindset is everything, because she never complained. She never was like, oh, this sucks. She's like, oh, this is hard, but let's get up the mountain, smiling,
Yeah.
plugging along behind us, and just great attitude.
I was really proud of her.
Attitude's everything.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you about that. Why do an elk hunt at all, right? Because you got so much going on. I had to pull that all-nighter with her, pull her out of school for just a couple of days.
Yeah.
We're cramming a hunt in that we probably could just skip.
Yeah.
There's meat in the freezer and things like that. But yet, annually, you take the kids out and you make it happen.
We make it happen every year. It's a pain in the butt every year. Our family is huge. Football is huge in our family, right? Both boys play football. My daughter plays soccer. So fall time is all football and soccer.
Yeah, Brett, your oldest son, they just won against Fruitland High School, which they lost 15 years in a row to.
Yeah, well, 2005 was the last time we won. So
that's stupid.
It's crazy, yeah.
Okay.
Fruitland, my son said, Fruitland's been the Alabama of Idaho football.
Yeah.
They've been dominant for so long.
And,
and they finally beat them.
Beat
them for the first time since 2005.
Yeah, and I was at the game last night, because we packed Brock's. That's an interesting, just a quick tangent. We pack his bull out and do a famous night hike, which seems like the story of my life.
Yeah.
So we packed that bull out in the middle of the night. First
4-hour turnaround for the next load.
Yeah, and it was 4-something miles. And the thing that people don't realize is 4 miles isn't that much, but the area you're in, Hell's Canyon, some of these it's Eagle Cap, some of this stuff is like straight up, straight down kind of country.
Yeah,
it's vertical.
It's hard on your ankles, it's hard on your knees.
And so it's not just
4 miles.
4 miles.
No.
It's 4 miles of straight up, straight down.
Yeah.
And so, it was intense getting in heavy loads, and Brock and Caitlin are packing heavy loads in the dark.
We had our camp.
We had our camp and as much elk as we could comfortably carry because we had to go back in and do a second load. And that's another thing. We decided to break things up. I used to want to do it all at once, but so we packed out that night, got to bed at 1.
Yeah, 1:30 the time we got something to eat.
Got to the truck. We used our canvas cutters, which was the part of the plan. Rolled those out.
Good
crashed. It's nice.
It started raining on us that
night.
It
did. It rained hard.
That.
So crashed, and then it's at like 5 in the morning. We had to get back up. So we slept 4 hours, maybe.
We slept about 4 hours. Yeah.
Got back up and went back in the pouring rain, and that was a true test of character and willpower.
Yeah, that sucked, to be honest, because it's just mud.
And the goal to get up in the middle in the dark and hike in and to get the bull out, the rest of the bull out, was so we could get back and get Brock to practice for football, because it's a big deal.
Yeah, for the drive, and knew how long the first pack out took.
Mm-hmm.
So we knew when we had to leave. We had to leave by 6 a.m., which we didn't leave till like 6:30.
It was rough. The rain was coming down hard.
I had to go back and get it.
It was coming down hard, and so didn't have adequate rain gear. Just grinned and toughed it out.
Yeah.
Got to the top, got to the elk, packed it up, and got her back out, got in the truck, and just pedaled to the metal.
Yeah, hauled out.
And got there just in time for practice. And so, again, back to my original question, like, we worked our butts off for 2 days, 2.5 days, didn't sleep, lots of miles, lots of physicality. Why make it happen at all?
You know, it's funny because when we were out there doing it, I don't know that Brock had a great time. Mm-hmm. I mean, you know, he killed a bull. That's fun. We got to see a lot of bulls. That's fun. But elk hunting, like we said, elk hunting, the fun to work ratio is way off. Skewed. It's really fun, but it's got a lot of work that goes with it. So I don't know how much fun that was for Brock, right? It was hard. He pounded himself in that game. We got no sleep. We pounded hard for 2.5 days. He runs back and throws his gear on and runs out to practice when he can't hardly walk. Mm-hmm. You know, but like we talked about when we were there, it's good to learn how to suffer, right? And they might not appreciate that at their age, in their teenage years.
Yep.
But when you learn how to suffer and you learn how to bear through hardships, like, I think you're putting money in the bank. You're putting money in the bank, right, for whatever comes in life.
Yep.
You know, it comes any kind of hardships or trials you go through. You've done hard things. You just grin and bear it. You get through it, and you know that it'll pass. And you know,
and I think that's you remind your kid of that even when we're up on the mountain. Me too. You know, with Caitlin, it's like, hey, guess what? 6 hours from now, you're going to be somewhere else, eating pizza.
Yeah,
it's gonna pass.
Yeah,
it sucks right now, but it's gonna pass.
Yep. And guess what? It sucks for me. It sucks for you. It's not like we, you know, love packing out.
That's one thing I asked you. It's like, why do we elk hunt? I was just saying this to Lampers the other day. Dude, elk hunting is not fun. I just finished a long archery solo hunt. It is not fun. It is rewarding.
Yeah.
So it's a suffer fest. It's a grind. It's mentally, physically challenging to elk hunt.
It's got fun moments.
It does. And close encounters that are incredible when a bull's screaming, you know. But I told you the other day, why don't we just go to Hawaii and shoot like axis deer and go shoot some whitetails in Texas and some pigs and just get up whenever and fling some arrows and have fun, have some excitement without any work. Or half the work. And you mentioned the mule deer hunt we have this year.
Yeah.
Being that type of hunt for you, spot and stalk mule deer with a bow.
Yeah. You're still working hard, but the fun ratio and the work ratio are more like you're having a whole bunch of fun. And there's not tons of, you kill a buck, you can bone a buck out and put it on your back.
Right.
You know, it's just
totally different.
Totally different. I kind of liken it to, you know, we don't play video games in our house really. My kids will have a few on their phones, but I liken it to video games. So many people love video games. There's really nothing rewarding about playing a video game to me.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's fun that does not have any.
It's fun in the moment.
But
there's
nothing
no
lasting
value in it later.
No, that's some of these hunts you mentioned to me. They're like video game hunts, and I'm gonna offend people. Will be all offended. You know what I mean? They're just fun. There's nothing wrong with fun. Nothing wrong with fun just for the sake of fun. But it doesn't mean they're real rewarding.
That's the difference there. People. There's a lot of people I know who have no interest in doing what we just did.
Yeah.
Right? In fact, where we killed that bull, we were talking about this. That bull could live for it could die of old age where we killed that bull. Because most people aren't even going to be able to find the bull, let alone attempt the stalk and the climb and the hunt. And then if they get one, they're going to think, I got to have horses. I got to have mules. I got to have pack. There's no way it can be done without that.
Right.
And it's like, no, it can be done. It just takes mental toughness and physical grind.
Well, like we talked about, that bull happened to be living in a canyon that you could only glass if you climbed the opposite mountain, right? So we climbed this mountain to hunt up here, But that's what gave us the view of this little slot canyon he's living in, box canyon almost.
You're never going to find it.
That you just couldn't see from any other angle.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And who knows how long he's been cruising in there.
Right.
You know?
And you would never climb, like it wasn't a big canyon. I would never climb up there just to look in that canyon.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But because we were hunting over here and we could see it, and then you ask yourself how many people are going to go, well, you know what? I'm going to leave this mountain. I just worked my tail off to get up. Drop all the way down, and then go climb. Work just as hard to get up that mountain.
Let's be real. There was a bull 300 or 400 yards from us that was, well, actually, he's about 1,000 yards, but not far.
No.
Now, that probably scores the same.
Probably, maybe higher.
Maybe.
I don't like him as much.
And that's it right there. It's like
I didn't like him as much. They had a short front end, dinky little trees, great big sweeping main beams, big top end.
Let's be real too. It was day one. Day one. It's so hard for you to pull the trigger on day one. Your hunt's over.
Yeah, and you don't know. Like I kept telling Brock, you could shoot that bull. You know, come look at it. I had him look at it 100 times, right? And he's like, but I go, you could pull that trigger, and a 350 bull could come around the corner.
Yeah.
You know, and then are you going to be glad you pulled the trigger? That was my only advice. You're going to be happy you just shot that if a 340 bull jumps up when you.
What's so funny is we talked about with archery, you would go on that bull in a heartbeat.
I'd be thrilled to go after a bull like that.
And I've heard Ranella talk about this a little bit. When you start being selective, people chalk that up to trophy hunting. Like, you're just shallow. You want to just shoot something that has a bunch of inches. But there's more to it than that. It's like the hunt would be over. If you just shot anything that was legal, your adventure's done.
Well, you think about it, this is a tag that is extremely hard to draw, very low draw odds. You're probably not going to ever get it again, right?
Yep.
Why would I want that to end on day one?
Right. A rifle hunt with bulls
How often
screaming.
do you get to do that?
Yeah. So with the caliber of bull, that's a potential. You never know.
Right. And at some point, the size of the elk overcomes it's going to end opening day.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? At some point, that ratio
400-inch bull walks out, you're like, I can do
it. But, other than that, it's like, man, I want to go enjoy this for a little while. I'm never going to probably do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Although my other son drew a tag just like it that starts in 2 weeks. But that, again, we just lucked out. Got two phenomenal tags in the same year.
It could never happen again.
It could never happen again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we just wanted to make the most of it. You hear that adage, don't pass up a bull on day one that you wouldn't shoot on the last day. I've never bought into that.
Me either. I
would gladly pass up a 320 bull early on a tag like this and kill a 300 bull the last day and know I had a blast for the whole hunt.
Yeah. Same here. I am more okay with taking an animal on the first day than I used to be.
Yeah.
But I also get to hunt a lot more than I used to.
I don't get that. So,
yeah, it's part of my job, So I am, but I remember when I only had a couple weeks vacation or one cherished tag for the season. I don't want it to end.
No, that's what it's all about. So we're being picky, but it's not because you see we're doing this skull boiled. Brian inspired me to get my skulls boiled. I've been collecting for the last few years, but we're not trophy hunters, man. We shoot elk, we fill the freezer. We don't kill big bulls, but on a special tag, we just wanted to make the most of it.
Yeah. So, well, and it's about the kids having that experience. So, there's a lot of folks that were hunting where we were at. I didn't see anybody really covering the ground that we were covering.
Yeah, and that's true.
I think the hardcores got out there day one. And
that's what I was going to say. I saw the bull that I had scouted that we really wanted to kill. We couldn't hunt opening day because Brock had a football game.
Yeah.
That bull, I watched him die opening morning by some people who got after it and got to the top. I've since found out who they are.
Yeah.
Hard hunters.
Got a picture of their...
Yeah, it was a lady, actually.
Yeah.
Killed this bull, and beautiful bull. And it wasn't super high scoring either.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 320 bull. It's a, pretty bull. We'd have been glad to shoot it. But anyway, they worked their butts off and got up there and killed it and packed it out. Good for them.
Yeah. Well, and you knew that was going to be the case.
Yeah.
You were keeping an eye on a few bulls, and they, in fact, all dropped on the first day.
Two of them, I literally, when I glassed up one opening morning, I had it in the spotting scope. I heard shots. And I picked my head up to kind of orient myself to where those came from. And I thought, that sounds like where I'm looking. And I went back to my scouting scope, and the bull's on the ground. And I thought, and I had just since found the bull that we really wanted to kill. And I had to swing that on the bull. And I swung my spotting scope there and just got in focus. and boom, he went down.
Yeah.
So the two biggest bulls we'd been watching went down within 60 seconds of each other, about 2 miles apart on opening morning.
Yeah.
So that was kind of funny. But I knew that would happen, But we got after it the second day, and God, it was just a blast. It was a lot of fun.
Which, you're not, what I was going to say is a few people like at the game were looking at, we're talking about the bull and Brock's bull, and they're like, wow, good for him. And how did you get it? And where was it? And when people start to hear about what it takes to do something like what Brock just did physically, we don't have pack animals and stuff like that and access. A lot of people just can't imagine putting like that kind of work in. Yeah. That kind of, what do you think it is that pushes you?
Well, I think like what you talked about, just learning that hard things are more cherished in hindsight. Like we could go, I think about this all the time, especially with kids. We could go out and drive the roads like 90% of the hunters do. And you know what? On a tag like this, you probably kill a bull that way.
Yeah.
Right? On the scouting I was doing, even just a week right before the hunt started, I saw a beautiful 300-inch bull, 250 yards from my car, 3 minutes after I left the pavement.
Yeah.
Somebody probably shot that bull, right? And so we could go out and do the same thing. We could drive the roads, shoot a bull right off the road or close to it, have a 500-yard pack out. And I just think, is that the memory I want 40 years from now, or my kids telling their kids about this hunt? Is that what they want? Is that the story they want to tell? And again, they might not understand that now.
Right. It's like I walked 20 miles to school back to and from in the snow.
I told that to Brock.
30 below.
Brock, when you tell this story to your kids, you're going to talk about how, my dad could barely hack it. I had to drag him around. And really, it's the opposite, but it's going to grow.
Do you ever worry about it making your kids not ever want to hunt again?
Yeah. Yeah, I actually have done that. I think I started out that way. We've talked about this before. I started out that way. I started out my kids getting these hardcore hunts right off the get-go because, I'm probably rehashing something out of past podcasts, but when you and I started, we started like most kids do. We road hunted. We did this and that, little short hikes in.
Orange.
We grew
Opening
to
day.
love hunting little by little, and the more we loved it, the harder we made it, the more hardcore we got. And you kind of built to this point of doing hardcore hunts, and we became pretty successful at it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then you take that secret to success, and then I try to take my kids out, and I go, well, I know how to be successful. I've learned this over the years, so let's go do this because I want you to be successful. But they didn't go through that building process that we went through. And so, yes, some hunts have been too extreme for my kids, and I think, especially my older kids, didn't love hunting because of that. They worked their butts off, and I was always so impressed by how hard they could work. Mm-hmm. But they were like, think about it. You and I love to hunt.
Yeah.
And we question these outcomes. Like, why do we do this?
Right.
So, of course, a kid's going to question it, right? We question it. But, at the same time, these kids, these boys, they're in their mid-teens now. They do so many sports, and they work out in the gym. They're in better shape than I am, let's face it.
Yeah.
It's the mental conditioning you don't have yet.
Yeah.
So.
And I can remember my dad putting us to work in pouring rain, chopping wood, and working all day from morning till dark. And those things, they taught me how to work.
Oh, yeah.
They taught me how to put in work and just get through it. There wasn't a choice.
Yeah.
And I think that too many kids nowadays don't actually we don't live in a society where that's required.
Right.
You don't got to get up and milk the cows and plow the field and all that in order to feed your family.
Yeah.
You don't have to participate. My kids are the same way. That's why I think sports are really important, in many ways, or some sort of even academic endeavor, something that's challenging physically, that requires some form of work, preferably physical, because I think there's a true spiritual connection to physical work, suffering, and life.
Yeah.
Yet, I think too many kids today, they can do nothing. They can really just be as inactive as imaginable.
Yeah.
And I think that unfortunately does rob your youth of the formative years of growth that they need to have. So when life does get hard, they can't hack it.
Yeah. Well, and it's like I take my kids, for example. Brock, we'll take Brock first specifically. He's a good athlete, right? He's really strong, fit, good in the weight room. The kid would sit on the couch and do nothing all day if I let him.
All mine
he's
would.
Not a perfect kid, right? I mean, he's not just so naturally driven that he's just a goer. No, he'd sit there and watch TV or video games all day if I let him. Like
I can remember.
You got to push him. And
I remember Caitlin. As soon as we got to Fruit Heights, Utah, we moved there. We had the gym at Mountain Ops, and I'm like, my kids, we're across the street.
Yeah.
We live across the street.
Yeah.
My kids need to take, especially Caitlin, she needs to take advantage of that opportunity, and really she needs to learn what to be in shape. Yeah. Now, the other kids were in sports, so they were, Abby and Hannah, they were kind of active like that. Abby and Caitlin especially or Abigail especially in gymnastics. So I got Caitlin up every day for 3 months in the summertime, every day, and drug her to the gym. And she hated me for 2 months. Hated, like, it was just like every day she complained, and every day she didn't want to do it. But she got strong, and she got in shape, and she got confident, and she liked who she was becoming. Yeah. And then I ended up same thing through August, June, July, August, and then I ended up going hunting for weeks, as I do in September. And she carried on without me, and she took herself to the gym.
Yeah.
And now it's been 2 years, and she's going to the gym 6 days a week.
Yeah.
And lifting heavy weight and pushing herself and doing things that are hard. She doesn't like cardio much, but she still gets on the treadmill or hikes or rows on the row machine, gets her heart rate up, and she does burpees. You know, she'll do these things that get her going, but they're not her favorite. But it's cool to see her start to push herself on her own. Mm-hmm. Now, Abby, I was telling you, my middle child, she's incredible at gymnastics and in the gym, and she works hard. Like, she's competitive and she works. But if it were up to her, she would never go to gymnastics. Once she's there,
loves it. Yeah.
She learns. She just grinds. But that's where kids need parents to push them.
Yeah, for sure.
But that fine line, did you push them too far, and now they don't ever want to go to the gym?
Right.
You know.
Yeah, that's a tough fine line. I'm usually on one side or the other, dancing on that line. But I'd rather err on the side of pushing them a little too hard, I got to admit. But I do try to balance it out, and that's why, you know, even when we're hunting and I'm telling Brock what I think we can kill, what I think we can find, and I'm always telling him, but hey, buddy, you see something you want to shoot, you go for it.
What was so cool too was you could see the gears grinding in Brock's head on that last day, on the last pack out. We got to get back to practice.
Yeah.
He's got the antlers and back straps. He's got the heavy load, and he's coming down the mountain, and we froze our butts off in the icy cold winds and rain all morning. We're all wet, so we're still cold, and we're coming off the mountain. He's got that load, and the last, I don't know, what would you say, 500 yards or so, you could just see him going, just wanting to be somewhere else in the world.
Yeah.
And the suffering was at a peak.
Yeah.
And he's coming down the hill, and there were times where he just stood there. And just stood there and looked.
What did he say to Caitlin later?
Later, I go, Caitlin, because Caitlin didn't go for the last pack out. Which is an 8-mile round trip pack out, straight up and down. So Caitlin's like, I told Caitlin, I go, Brock was just on the hill, and he's just standing there. Me and Anthony are walking, hiking, we're trudging just inch by inch with these heavy packs, and we turn around and we look, and he's just still standing there looking down the hill. And then we'd walk some more, and we'd turn around, and he'd have come 3 feet, and then he'll just stand there. And we're like, and I go, Anthony yelled up the hill, hey, Brock, you got to move, bud. Like, you got to walk if we're going to get down the mountain. And he just stood there, and he goes, yeah, Caitlin. About that time, I was just thinking, man, I wish I could teleport.
You must have been seriously contemplating that.
Yeah. What would it be like to just teleport to the bottom? Is there any way I can make this happen?
Geez. So funny. But then you talk about the last 500 yards. The kid kicks it into gear and leaves us in the dust.
Totally. We hit the trail. We're at the bottom. And once he can see the truck, he's like a horse that knows he's the end
the barn.
Whoa.
Which means he had that ability the whole time.
The whole time.
Up here.
Where you and we were at max capacity. And so to see that young kid just, fly past us the last quarter mile. I was like, sucker had all this juice, and he was
holding back.
Like he was just standing on the mountain where you and I were pegged.
Oh yeah,
I was like, what it would be like to be young. But that's what you were saying about mental toughness versus physical ability.
Yeah,
mental toughness is huge in life.
Yeah,
and how do you get it without putting yourself in positions like this?
Yeah, you got to earn that somehow.
You turn to him and go, well, Brock, me and Brian, we could stay here for 3 days and pack out elk. We got no time limit. It's your practice.
Yeah, you want to miss
football.
Your game?
You want to miss your game?
All day.
We can take all day. And so he's looking at it's all up to him. Do you want to hike out or do you want to stay here? And to his credit, he dug deep, made it happen. I think they even surprised themselves.
Yeah. Well, you hope so. I mean, the thing is that's a reality. Even in their early teens or their mid-teens now, they probably have more physical ability than we do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I mean, maybe not you. You're in phenomenal shape, but it's just they don't have the mental. They haven't developed that mental strength yet. And that's why you do these things, You push them, they figure out what they can do, and helps.
I want to ask you about that because, you're pushing 45 like me, and
44 technically, you're a year older.
and you've had some real back problems.
Yeah.
Some knee, some back. Mostly your back, though, has been
like
really,
last year and a half.
Really, really debilitating to a point where you're really crippled.
Yeah. Oh, I spent, it's been a year and a half. I spent a good 12 months of that. Well, I had a 6-month stretch where I probably wasn't on my feet more than 6 hours a day. I was flat on my back probably 18 hours a day.
And this is what blows my mind is here we are doing this physically intense hunt. And you kind of limp around a little bit like an old man sometimes. You're still pushing it harder than guys that have fully intact bodies and have no issues at all.
Well, it's you got a choice to make, right? I have this bad back. It's reality. I have it no matter what. But even during that 6-month stretch where I was spending, 3/4 of the day flat on my back, when I wasn't flat on my back, I was strapping my butt to a rowing machine and rowing for an hour at a time, sometimes 2 hours at a time, because it was something I could do without hurting my back. That hinged forward movement didn't bother me. So I would put on a movie and I'd get on the rower and I'd go because I'm going to hurt no matter what. I can either be in terrible shape and hurt, and the hurting will probably get worse, or I can make strong the things that I can get strong. So that started about December 1st. I started just rowing. Every day I got in that rower and I rowed. It was the only exercise I could find that I could really do without killing me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I rowed and rowed and rowed. But pretty soon rowing turned into, you know what? I can start doing a little bit of squatting or some different exercises that started not to hurt a little bit. Or sometimes they would, but I'd, just go real light. And anyway, long story short, I still have the bad back. I still need 2 surgeries, a right hip and a back. But I've been able to strengthen everything around it so much that as long as I stay within the parameters of the movements I can do, I'm doing awesome, So
that takes a certain toughness, and my grandpa's been like that. A lot of people would just call it quits. I'm old, back's broken. I can't do these things anymore.
Yeah.
And then there's people like my grandpa, like you, that are like, no, it's never over.
Yeah, your grandpa. I remember that podcast. I don't know how old he was at the time, but he talked about having how many knees or hips or whatever. And he's like, and I'm worn out. I need a new one. I'm going, at what point do you just go, why do I need a new one? But
he
not to him.
He had like a D8 cat fall on him and crush him. And
he's
they're
like
all
in his 80s. He's like, I need a new one. I got to keep going.
I remember him mowing the lawn, and then his hip fell out. And you're talking about a ball and socket, and it looks like a wiffle ball, like a lacrosse basket.
Oh.
And then inside of it's just a wiggling metal ball in plastic, and it just wobbles inside that.
Wow.
And it popped out. And so it was over here.
Oh,
and the muscles are all like weirded out, and I've seen the x-rays, and it just looks like there's pins and screws and metal pieces and plastic, and he's still, even in his 90s, he's still like, I'm walking. I am walking.
That's cool.
I don't care how bad it hurts. And it's intense to see somebody like that and go. And I've seen him pull his shoulder come out, and he's just like laying on the ground. He's just like trying to shove it back in, like a scene from Lethal Weapon. You know, you're just like, what? And seeing that and seeing people fight through it, there's people who give in to age and people who refuse. And I feel like the ones that refuse, they're living life to a fuller level.
Yeah. No, and that's my goal. That's all I want. Like, I hunted this year with my dad. He got an archery tag, and my dad's 72, 73.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's just had major reconstructive ankle surgery. He's got the other ankle fused, and he hadn't hunted for the last couple of years. To be honest, I thought he was done. I didn't think he'd hunt again, to be honest. But shoot, he hit it this year, and we're hiking the same country that Brock just hunted. We picked some of the little easier spots, but it's still up and down.
It's
and
crazy.
He
has
and
2 fused ankles?
He's got one fused, and the other one has just been completely reconstructed so that they could fuse it after that. They had to reconstruct his whole foot to get it right so they could fuse the ankle.
Yeah.
He hasn't had the fusion yet. But anyway, just hunted his butt off, man. We hunted like 16 times over the course of the season just from the house,
Yeah.
And kicked butt. And I'm like, Dad, you're 72. This is awesome. I go, you keep working. And here's the deal. He's been hitting the gym 5 days a week for the past 6 months.
Yeah.
Getting in shape. And I'm like, I said, no, it's like 3-4 months he's been hitting the gym. I go, think about you keep this up for another 12 months. I go, you'll keep hunting like this for 10, 12 more years.
Yeah.
There's no reason to stop.
That's true. I just think too many people quit too soon. And but how do you make yourself do it when it hurts and you don't want to?
You know what? I just, to me, but this is me. I thoroughly enjoy working out anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And to me, like, there's nothing that drives me. There's nothing that drove me more to work out than the fact that the pain wanted me to just lay in bed all day. Like that just makes me mad.
Yeah.
It just makes me mad. So when all I could do is get on that rower again, I'd flip something on the TV and I would go to town on the rower, and it didn't start out an hour. It started out 15 minutes on the rower. But I found I got just a little bit of relief from the back pain, and it might last 10 minutes after I got in rowing. But it was 10 minutes, right, that I wasn't dying. And the more those months went on, and just
taking your life back.
Yeah, exactly. Taking control over something.
So I want to talk to you a little bit about switching gears about success, elk hunting success.
Okay.
You've had a lot, especially with the kids, yourself, rifle or bow. What do you contribute? Like, what makes a guy successful in the elk woods?
Well, it's funny. I hadn't thought about that same question, but I did think about like when people, you talked about we got to the football game and everybody's asking about Brock's bull, and to a lot of people, success, especially on a nice bull, a branch bull, and we'll just say a 6-point, right? It might be 250, it might be 320, but just say a 6-point, which to most average hunter is a nice bull, right?
Yeah.
I think most people think of that as something that they hope they're lucky enough to do one time in their life. Like they just are in the right spot at the right time, and the bull runs across the road in front of them, whatever.
Yeah.
And they just hope for luck, right? But I think successful people, and I don't consider myself a wildly successful elk hunter. I might be a little bit above average, but I just think no, what is it going to take to kill an elk? And that's what I'm going to do. Like, I don't care what the obstacle is to that. I want to be as proactive as possible to get an elk killed. And so for I think the average hunter goes, man, I just hope I'm in the right place at the right time. Maybe they do the exact same thing every year. I like to walk from this ridge to this ridge.
Right.
Or I like to camp here and drive these roads, and they do the same thing, and they're just kind of hoping they just dumb luck and elk comes in front of them, they get to shoot it. And to them that'd be great, right? If that happened once and they killed a 6-point bull, that's fantastic. But I think people who are really successful, much more so than me, they just go, hey, what does it take? And I'm going to do that. And what am I not doing right now? That's going to make me successful. And then they change that, And so you talked about all these physical obstacles to Brock's hunt and the fact that we only had 4 or 5 days. Number one, I went out and scouted 20 days. I told my wife, 2 weeks before it started, I'm like, hon, I know we don't have the time to pour into this hunt when the hunt starts, so I'm going to pour the time into it before the hunt starts.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to work I might be able to work as hard as I want because of the limited days he could hunt.
Yep.
So we're going to put in the work now, right? That we can't put in during the season.
That scouting was legit. We have hunted some of this area before.
Yeah.
But we didn't access it the way we did this time.
No, totally
there were
different.
Some really nice access points and tricks to this hunt that we didn't have in the past. And that scouting, that's the difference.
Yeah. Well, and I had 3 or 4 different areas in mind for our, we only had this Wednesday, Thursday, half day, Friday thing. I had 3 or 4 different areas in mind. When I watched the best bull that I had found go down opening morning, the next best bull go down 60 seconds before that, I kind of thought, oh man, now what? And I had driven up to area number 2 and I watched all these people packing in and I just thought, you know what? Okay, I've scouted for 20 days. Where have I seen the most elk? The bull we wanted is dead. Where have I seen the most bulls, and what's going to give us the best opportunity to just look over elk? Brock can find something he likes, and we can go put a move on it and try to get it killed.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went with it was our first choice area anyway, even though the bull died that we wanted.
Yeah.
Had the most elk, had the most bulls, hadn't seen anything else we wanted, and it was kind of the hardest one to get into and out of.
Right.
But we just went for it, man. Short hunt, you just put in the work.
Yeah. And I would say scouting is right up there at the top, shooting, Brock, he nailed that bull twice right through the breadbasket.
And then here's the other thing. So here, quick story. So another kid, I don't know this guy, but he's a friend of a friend.
Mm-hmm.
His kid drew this tag, and opening morning, his kid got a 100-yard shot at a 350 plus bull, right? And had him at 50 yards first.
Yeah.
Too many cows in the way. And kid's brand new hunter, like 12-year-old kid, right?
Right.
So he finally gets his shot, but because it's in tall sage, he's got to stand up and shoot offhand 100 yards, and he misses this bull of a lifetime. Easy to do. People think, 100-yard shot, that's slam dunk. No, not when you're shooting offhand, especially a little kid. But here's the thing.
And Brock shot his buck last year, that 192 buck, off of your back.
Off my back. So that's what I was getting at. When I hear the story that, we couldn't get any other shot other than offhand, I just think, bull crap. You didn't think about that scenario ahead of time and figure out a way that you're going to get a shot that's not offhand, either with equipment or like in the case of Brock's, what can we do? I don't know. How about a body? Here, all bent over.
You bent over and you got on your backpack.
Braced myself like a table.
Yep.
Yeah.
As solid as you could. And Brock got on there and leaned across. And then it was like, I didn't have a lot of faith in this.
You tested it. Remember, you go, hold on, let me test that first.
Let me see.
And
I got on there, I'm like,
oh yeah, that's pretty good.
Hey, that's not bad. Your dad's a good rock, And then he got on there and you're like, how do you feel? He's like, yeah, feel good.
I'm locked on him.
And then bam, got him. Yeah. It was pretty sweet.
No, so that's the thing. I mean, I'm not down on this kid. Like that's something I would have done as a kid.
Yes.
Oh, I got offhand. Boom, I missed him. Dang it.
Bull of a lifetime.
Bull of a lifetime. So that's another facet of what makes people successful. So I know that hunting with kids, like my kids, all of them that have hunted, I'm trying to think. I think maybe one of them missed a shot once. The rest of them have shot everything they've shot at. Now, Brock's made a couple bad shots. Kendall made a bad shot on a deer, but we got him. But the thing is, the day will not come that they take an offhand shot. Mm-hmm. Now, an old timer or somebody might go, well, you're shortchanging them. They're not building that skill. No, they're not, but I don't think they need it because you know what? I don't take offhand shots either.
Right.
I'm going to get resting on something every time. So all of our practice revolves around shooting positions and what can we do to get a good rest. And this year I bought that gun vise from Triclops.
Yep. Mounts
on a tripod. And, man, the thing was just awesome. So, it just holds your gun on your tripod that I'm packing around anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so Brock was he had to take a kneeling shot because of the tall grass, over the summit of the saddle we were in there.
Oh, and there were sentinels of elk
man.
up on this.
Should have pegged me. I was in the lead, and I missed these sentinels.
You didn't even know they were there till me and Brock told you later.
I saw these lower elk. I'm like, oh, yeah, I found them. Oh, well, those didn't see me. I thought I was all sneaky.
They're all bedded up there looking. I'm like, how are they not looking at us?
Yeah, seriously.
And we were all crawling in the grass. And that I feel like we got the shot and stuff on film, but I feel like there's a lot of grass in our way.
Yeah.
And we mentioned it later. Man, it would have we really tempted to just look at elk for 20, 30 minutes, an hour, watch him just rut. But you just don't know when that wind switches and they all bolt or something sees you or a cow, and there's so many elk. We were very aggressive. We were like, shoot it now.
Yeah.
We've been there too many times.
Here's the thing. We have, and we just talked about that hope that someday you're lucky enough to have even when you work hard and you know what you're doing and you're successful, those moments are still fleeting. They don't happen very often.
Yeah.
And they're still treasured moments that are rare, and they can disintegrate like that.
Right.
So it would have been great because we did get to watch a little bit of rutting while we set everything up, and he bugled, and didn't know we were there. It was cool. But no, we wanted to put that bull down.
Yeah. Yeah. So you use this Triclops.
Triclops, yeah, it's awesome, man.
It has it holds on a tripod. It holds the
it's just
front of the gun, cradles it.
It's just a vise that pinches the gun.
And then you have a back.
Well, so the gentleman that makes it, by the way, I found this product like 5 days before his hunt started. Okay. I looked at a similar product before. In fact, cousin Ben bought one for his kids. And it looks like it's going to work just as good. It just was like 1.4 pounds or something like that, pound and a half.
Yeah.
But man, it's kind of heavy. And then 5 days before Brock's hunt, I found a different version that actually has been out longer than the one Ben bought, but this is called the Triclops. Weighs like 10 ounces. Mm-hmm. And I thought, that's what I need. It actually was it was a little bit cheaper. Called the guy. The guy called me on a Sunday evening as he was coming off of his first desert sheep hunt ever, which happened to be the same desert sheep hunt I went on with Kevin last year with your uncle. So that was kind of cool. Anyway, talked to him over the phone, ordered it right there, had it, 3 days later, practiced with Brock with it. We didn't even get a shoot off of it. We practiced just shooting positions, and took that thing out there. And he had said, if it works awesome, but put a rear rest behind it, just like if you were proning on a bipod or anything. Mm-hmm. The rear rest, you're so much more solid. He said, just take another little tripod and use it as a rear rest.
It's almost like a shooting sled. It just locks in and then.
It's just awesome. So Brock, that bull was 300 yards exactly, which is where Brock's gun zeroed at. So he just had to hold dead on. And you got it on film. You saw it better than I did, but he just pounded that thing perfectly.
Yep. Right.
The bull just soaks it up.
Let's talk about that 270 round.
Yeah, I shot a 270. He's shooting a 145 grain ELDX.
And I think there's people who think that's too small.
Yeah, probably. People that like big guns. I don't. Big guns are great, but we haven't used them mainly because I bow hunt and I rifle hunt at times because my kids have to rifle hunt because of football, right? So the last few years I've been coaching, I've rifle hunted too for elk, but I don't even have my own rifle. I have my kids' rifles because I bow hunt, right?
Yeah.
So, but they got, smaller calibered guns. They're not small. 270. We've had a 30-06. Breck's got a 7 mag now. That's not really small, I guess. But the thing is, we've killed elk with them. Never had a problem killing elk with them.
That's, some people worry about the caliber being a little smaller. You got to make this perfect shot. But, that 270, there's no exit hole on this.
Right.
On this bull.
And I've shot bulls with that 270 and not exit bulls, but they die 10 feet from where you shot them.
And he just hits it, and then you're like, do it again. He's still standing. But the thing is he's hit. But like a lot of times when I've seen a bull hit with a rifle, they run because maybe the caliber or the way they're hit, or I'm not sure.
I don't have any explanation for it. All I know is that the vast majority of animals we've shot with that 270, you shoot them, boom, and they go, whoa, what just happened? And they stand around. And then they tip over dead.
That's what happened.
It happens.
Just
9
boom,
times out
and he
of 10.
just stood there. All the other elk were like,
what?
they spooked and stuff, and then they all stood there like,
yeah,
I guess nothing happened.
Yeah,
okay. And then they're all like, some look like they were going to eat grass again, and then boom, he hits it again, and they go like, whoa, in the exact same spot, and the bull just kind of stands there. It's wild.
Yeah,
and then
that's been a very normal reaction. Not everyone, but most animals we've shot with that gun have done just that.
Really?
And you know what? Kendall, one of these bulls here was my daughter's first bull, and she shot it with a little 7mm 08. Exact same scenario. Shots it, boom. Bull just.
Because that's a nice caliber, for a kid.
Yeah. So I don't be shy at all about those. It's bullet placement.
And you like that Hornady?
That bullet I hand loaded a whole bunch of those, and it's been shooting really good.
ELDX.
Yeah, it's 145 grain ELDX, and I shot
That's
it
it,
out.
huh?
Yeah. it's been shooting really good out of that rifle. That's actually, I guess, plug a company that's a Weatherby Vanguard. It's a cheap rifle, $500 rifle. I just shot that the other day shooting with a buddy who builds rifles from the ground up, right? He's built like 20 rifles. They're, $3,000-$4,000 builds, shoot phenomenally. I shot Brock's $500 Weatherby Vanguard at 615 yards and shot a 3-inch group and shot a 6-inch group with his gun and a 3-inch group with Brock. Now, was it a fluke? Maybe. But he was like, man, don't ever get rid of that gun.
Yeah.
So, no, that gun just shoots well. It's a cheap gun, and it shoots really, really well. So
that's awesome.
Anyway, yeah.
So I've hunted with quite a few dudes that are very good butchers, I'd say. Like, they're really good at clean butchering in the field.
Oh, yeah.
Getting all the cuts right, bringing bone out a lot. But I think you're the best. For real. Like, I think you are the best field butcher I've ever hunted with of all the guys I've been with. And I've been with a few. Lampers is really good too. But you're like a student of all the cuts and how they should be done. And then cooking, same thing.
Well, I think if that's true, it's because I'm pretty OCD.
Well, there's that for sure. Like me and your kids, we can barely tolerate you. Like really, there's 3 hairs on it. Leave it alone. Like, quit picking it. But there is an attention.
Nobody complains about that when it's on the table,
right? But it is an attention to detail. But I see you follow muscle groups, and cut these chunks and make these roasts. And one thing I wanted the audience to hear was your opinion on what are your favorite cuts now, because they're not the same as they used to be.
Yeah, that's funny. We talked about that on the mountain. That's why I made you carry the front shoulder out with the bone in.
Yeah, that's right.
Brian's like, what? You want me to pack the bone? I said, yeah, I want that in my roast.
and I agree with that, because bone in is so much better than bone out.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean,
cooks better. The muscles break down better. It gets the flavor from the bone, especially like these ones I just cut today. Even on the shoulder blade roast, I still cut through the bone because I like to expose that marrow.
Yeah.
When you cook it, that marrow comes out. You get that extra flavor from it. So, what I was telling you on the mountain was years ago, it used to be, of course, you always love the backstrap and tenderloins. Everybody loves those, right?
Yep.
And then after that, it was like, I love the rump. Right, there were the big cuts of meat, like big, giant, solid muscle groups.
Right.
And you thought that's just prime meat there. There's no gristle or tendon or connective tissue. All that was burger, right? Rib meat, front shoulder, neck, all that was burger. Well, now I have almost done an exact 180. So, of course, I love backstraps and tenderloins. But the neck meat, the front shoulder, those are the roasts. Those are the things you slow cook. And the ones I used to slow cook, like the rump, that's these big, dense, solid muscles. Man, I hate slow cooking those. They're dry, and those are burger. I'd so much rather turn those into burger or jerky, And, man, if I'm going to give, like last year, the kids killed a lot of elk. We killed a lot of elk last year in deer. And if I'm going to give stuff away, I'm giving them hindquarters now. And I think most people would say the opposite. They'd keep the hindquarter, give the front shoulder. I love front shoulder roast, man. They're just fall apart, tender, phenomenal flavor. Neck roasts are right there with them. And then the shanks, man. The shanks are just about my absolute favorite thing on an animal now.
I agree. Ever since I followed Ranella's Bone In TV episode on Meat Eater, he has a Bone In series.
Yep.
And I watched a few of those, and then I experimented with my mom.
I did the same thing.
Messed around them. Dude.
You can't beat shanks.
I was like, what? Game meat's not supposed to do this.
Yeah, seriously.
And ever since then, all those bone-in cuts are the favorite. Like, I like to, as much, we talked about this, when you're backcountry like we were, or generally, you don't get to keep the bones.
Yeah,
it's just not an
always
option.
Get to, but.
I packed my bull out, and I'm like, I ain't taking the bones, It was solo. And this hunt with Brock,
we took one
shoulder.
One shoulder with the bone in.
And that shoulder, dude, you put the neck in the
rib and everything, brisket, everything attached. Yeah. Right, you said that's the biggest front shoulder I've ever seen.
You just took half the whole front end of the elk off. But then you sat there and you made a beautiful cut out of it this morning.
Yeah,
in
I got
the kitchen.
A bunch of big big party size roast out of the front shoulder. So I wanted to use every bone that you packed out.
Thank goodness. So what is the your favorite methods? What is it that people are doing wrong when they're grinding that meat instead of cooking it?
Even meat for you. So number one, a lot of states now don't even require you to take the shanks.
Right.
You don't have to take shank meat because you
don't have to take it in Idaho.
Yeah, and it's full of tendon, right?
Yep.
And I used to look at that even for burger, and I'm like, I don't want to grind that.
No. And by the time you try to cut it out, there's
it's nothing left.
Quarter-sized pieces.
Worthless, right? The reason those are so good is because of all that tendon and connective tissue. That's what makes them so fall apart. Because when you look at the actual meat, there's not a whole lot of meat before there's a connective tissue, and meat and connective, and meat and connective. Yep. And everywhere there's a break in that meat is what falls apart when it slow cooks.
Yep.
And so that's the deal, is like the reason people think it's not good meat is the very reason that it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
And that stuff just melts away. Same with neck. Neck muscle, you cut it off the neck and it's just muscles going every which direction.
Right.
It's a big solid muscle that has no break in it that does not slow cook very well. That one, thin slice that and cook it quick. Thin slice those big muscles and cook them fast and hot. And the stuff that has a lot of connective tissue and different layers to the muscle, that's what you want to slow cook.
And so are you searing your shank in these roasts? You're searing them on the outside, seasoning?
And although the other day in a hurry, I didn't have time and they were a little too frozen, and I just Instapotted them in the pressure cooker. They still were phenomenal.
Yeah.
Still phenomenal. But yeah, ideally, I like to season them down. I love rosemary, thyme, salt, pepper, and some garlic in the oil. I sear them in olive oil or avocado oil till they're just crispy. And then I like to put them in a pot, put in some bone broth, and some onion, things like that. Slow cook them for 6 hours.
Oh, it's crazy. That's so easy.
So easy.
It's not a hard thing to do.
Fry it real quick, put it in there, put it in the oven, put it on 250, 275, let it go.
They're dummy proof.
Yeah. And they're just
I think because the margin of error is so wide, too. If you cook it 4 hours, you cook it 7 hours. It doesn't matter.
It's not going to matter, no. I mean, technically with connective tissue doesn't break down well with high heat in short time periods. It gets tough. So technically, I suppose, you want to do it right. The low and slow, is going to be the best for that. But, 4 hours is still a long time.
Yeah.
7 hours long. You can just cook it a little lower and slower if you're going longer. But it's foolproof. And it's as good as it gets. So,
what are your kids' favorite cuts? Meals?
I would say the same thing, man. They don't dig the bone marrow out of the shank. They don't enjoy it like I do. I love the bone marrow out of the shank.
I don't know why. Like me too. It's like
purely a
butter kind of. Oh.
It's purely a texture thing. They all think, it tastes great, but the texture weirds them out a little bit. And the fact, those are kind of new for us. Are we overcooking my Brock's elk?
Yeah, we probably got to call it quits here in a minute.
Yeah. They're kind of new for us to do this. We've only done this for the last couple of years. And so they're not used to digging the marrow out of a bone. Just kind of weird, awkward for them. But they've all tried it. They don't deny that it tastes phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit of a gelatin type texture. I just mash it right in and eat it. It's just delicious. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, I just think that the whole package, it's the whole package, Not only do the kids get to go out and experience this stuff, have the adventure, and is it hard and all that, but there's something about eating that meat now for the next year, 6 months, half year, whatever. I'm canning more and more.
Oh, yeah.
And I got to wonder what that connective tissue, what that stuff would be like being canned. I know with bear meat, there's so much fat in it, and it cans so well. It just tastes phenomenal. I wonder what the elk would do. I think it might be more lean, like a tuna.
Yeah. I canned almost a whole elk one time. And this is
more dry.
It is a little more dry, especially this stuff. It was still back when I thought, rump roasts are the best roast. So I cubed them and the thing, it's kind of dry. Even in a chunk, it's kind of dry. So it was still good. It wasn't our favorite, but
yeah. That's the next thing, though. You should can a little bit of that elk and then give it to me and Caitlin.
Yeah,
so
right.
like just a little,
I'm making you some head cheese right now.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's right. Well, we got to go. We got this boiling skull over here. We gotta clean it up and get them all Euro'd.
Yeah.
And Caitlin and I are going to head out of here. But this was awesome, man. Thanks for inviting us.
I appreciate the help and coming along, and also not just packing out the elk, but inspiring me to tackle my pile of
boneyard here that needs some attention. You're gonna have to color up some of those horns, which is a show we should talk about down the road. But
maybe we should video that because we're gonna do that.
Yeah, it's super cool. Ben's needs some love.
It's what happens when you. Well, when did Ben kill that bull?
2012.
Was it 12? No, it couldn't have been 12. It was
14.
Years ago.
2014.
14.
Yeah.
So that's when that bone pile started. That's since 2014.
Or 15.
Yeah.
Still fresh.
Yeah, it's just, I was just waiting for the right time.
You can't just leave in the Idaho desert like this and just,
anyway.
It's wild. All right, folks, thanks for tuning into the podcast. And as always, stay gritty.